At my daughter's sweet 16, she stood up and said, "I want to thank my real dad, my stepdad who actually showed up." My ex-husband grinned. I'd paid for everything. The venue, the DJ, even her car in the driveway. I just clapped politely, walked out, and made 3 calls. By midnight, the car was repossessed, the credit cards were frozen, and she was crying on my voicemail. "Dad, please. They're kicking us out." I, 42M, sat at the corner table of the banquet hall, watching my daughter glide across the dance floor in her silver dress. The one I'd paid for. Everything around me, the cascading floral arrangements, the professional DJ spinning tracks, the catered spread that cost more than my first car, the gleaming Mercedes in the parking lot with the oversized bow. All of it came from my bank account. Every single dollar. The divorce happened when she was 7. Her mother remarried within 18 months to some guy who worked in middle management and played weekend softball. I never badmouthed him. I never made my daughter choose. I just kept showing up. Every recital. Every parent-teacher conference. Every birthday. I paid child support on time, then paid extra. Private school tuition. Braces. Summer camps. The college fund that now sat at just over $80,000. Her mother fought me on custody from the start. I got every other weekend and 1 weeknight dinner. The lawyer said I could push for more, but I didn't want to drag my daughter through a war. So I took what I could get and made every minute count. Or at least I thought I did. The party was perfect. I'd spent 3 months planning it with the event coordinator, choosing every detail. My daughter had wanted a sophisticated celebration, not some kiddie party, and I delivered. 200 guests filled the room. The chocolate fountain alone cost $600. Then came the speeches. Her mother went first, dabbing her eyes with a tissue, talking about her baby growing up. Standard mom stuff. A few aunts said some words. Then my daughter took the microphone. She thanked everyone for coming. She talked about feeling blessed. And then she said it. She wanted to thank her real dad. Her stepdad. The man who actually showed up. The room went silent for a moment before awkward applause scattered through the crowd. I looked across the room and saw him. My ex-husband. Her words, not mine, standing there with this satisfied smirk on his face. My ex-wife had her hand on his arm, beaming. They'd won something. Some unspoken competition I didn't even know we were having. My daughter continued talking about how her stepdad taught her to drive, helped with her homework, was there for her every day. All the things I would have done if I'd been allowed past the front door more than twice a week. All the things I'd begged for in mediation. I felt every eye in that room land on me. Some pitying, some uncomfortable, some probably thought I deserved it. My own parents sat at my table, my mother reaching for my hand. I pulled away and stood up. I clapped. Slow, steady, deliberate claps that cut through the awkward silence. I smiled. I nodded. And then I walked out of that banquet hall into the parking lot, where that Mercedes sat gleaming under the streetlights. The night air hit my face, and I realized my hands were shaking. Not from sadness. From clarity. From 15 years of swallowed pride crystallizing into something sharp and focused. I sat in my car and made 3 phone calls. The first was to my brother, who worked at the dealership where I'd leased the Mercedes. The car was in my name. The insurance was in my name. The monthly payments came from my account. I told him I needed it returned immediately. He didn't ask questions. He said he'd send a tow truck within the hour. The second call was to my credit card company. I'd added my daughter as an authorized user on 2 of my cards when she turned 15, emergency purposes, I'd said, though she'd been using them freely for months. Clothes, concerts, dinners out with friends. I'd seen the statements. I'd never said a word. I reported the cards as needing to be frozen due to suspicious activity. The representative was efficient and sympathetic. The third call was to my ex-wife. It went to voicemail. I told her we needed to discuss some financial changes and that I'd be reaching out to my lawyer first thing Monday morning. I kept my voice level. Professional. Then I hung up and sat in the dark parking lot, listening to the muffled bass from inside the hall. I drove home. I didn't drink. I didn't punch anything. I sat at my kitchen table with a legal pad and started writing. Every expense. Every payment. Every dollar I'd put toward my daughter's life for the past 9 years. The child support was court-ordered and non-negotiable, but everything else, the extras that had added up to tens of thousands of dollars, those were gifts. Voluntary. Revocable. By midnight, my phone started ringing. My daughter. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. Voicemail. On the third call, I listened to the message. She was crying. The car was gone. They'd come with a tow truck right in the middle of the party. Her cards weren't working. Her friends had seen everything. She was humiliated. She needed me to fix this. She kept saying please. She called me Dad. Not Stepdad. Dad. I didn't call back that night. Update 1. The weekend was quiet. My phone rang 47 times between Saturday and Sunday. My daughter. My ex-wife. My ex-wife's husband. Even my ex-mother-in-law called, which was a first. I didn't answer any of them. I listened to some of the voicemails. My daughter went from apologetic to angry to desperate. My ex-wife went straight to threats about lawyers and parental alienation. Her husband left one message telling me I was being petty and childish. Monday morning, I met with my attorney. A woman I'd hired during the divorce and kept on retainer because I'd learned early that dealing with my ex-wife required documentation and legal boundaries. I showed her the list I'd made. She listened. She took notes. Then she smiled. Everything beyond court-ordered child support was voluntary. The private school tuition? Voluntary. The college fund in my name? Mine to do with as I pleased. The car lease? My property. The credit cards? My accounts. Even the Sweet 16 party. I'd paid the venue directly, and they'd already charged my card. That money was gone, but everything moving forward was in my control. My attorney drafted a letter. It outlined that effective immediately, I would be adhering strictly to the court-ordered custody arrangement and financial obligations. No more extras. No more voluntary payments. The private school tuition for next year would not be paid by me. The college fund would be reassessed. Any future financial support beyond legal requirements would need to be discussed through proper channels. We sent it certified mail. I also filed a motion to modify custody. My daughter was 16 now, old enough that courts actually listened to what kids wanted, but also old enough that her choices had consequences. The motion cited parental alienation and requested that we revisit the custody arrangement with a family therapist present. Wednesday afternoon, my ex-wife called from a number I didn't recognize. I answered. She was screaming before I even said hello. I held the phone away from my ear and let her wind down. When she finally paused for breath, I told her everything I'd done was legal and that she should direct all further communication through her attorney. She said I was punishing my daughter for being honest. I said I was teaching my daughter that actions have consequences. She said I was a bastard. I hung up. My daughter called an hour later. This time, I answered. She wasn't crying. She was cold. She told me I'd ruined everything. Her friends were talking. The whole school knew the car got repossessed during her party. She had to explain why her card stopped working. Her mother was furious and her stepdad was calling me every name in the book. She said she didn't understand why I was doing this. I asked her if she remembered what she said during her speech. She got quiet. Then she said she was just being nice to her stepdad because he was there. I asked her if she understood that I'd fought for more time with her, that I'd begged her mother for weeknight dinners and extra weekends and school events, that every time I'd tried to be more involved, I'd been shut down. She said she didn't know that. I told her that maybe she should have asked before publicly humiliating me in front of 200 people. She started crying then. Real tears. Not the manipulative kind. She said she didn't mean it the way it sounded. I told her that intentions didn't erase impact. She asked what she had to do to fix it. I said that wasn't how this worked. That I wasn't some ATM she could apologize to and get access restored. That if she wanted a relationship with me moving forward, it would be built on respect, not money. She hung up. Update 2. 2 weeks went by. The private school called me about next year's tuition. I told them to contact my ex-wife. They said the account had always been in my name. I said that was changing. They got quiet. Then they mentioned that my daughter was on track for valedictorian and that it would be a shame if financial issues interfered with her education. I told them I appreciated their concern and ended the call. My ex-wife filed a motion to compel me to continue paying for private school. Her argument was that my daughter had grown accustomed to a certain standard of living and that changing schools her junior year would be detrimental. My attorney filed a response pointing out that private school was never part of the divorce decree and that my ex-wife and her husband were perfectly capable of paying tuition themselves if they felt it was important. The hearing was scheduled for 6 weeks out. During this time, my daughter and I had our court-ordered visits. She came over on my weekend, sullen and silent. She stayed in the guest room and barely spoke. I didn't push. I made meals. I asked about school. I got one-word answers. On Sunday before I drove her back, I told her we needed to talk. She looked at me like I was about to lecture her. Instead, I asked her to tell me about her life. Really tell me. Not the surface stuff. I wanted to know what she cared about, what she was afraid of, what she wanted. She didn't trust it at first, but eventually, she started talking. She told me about the pressure at school, about how her mother had expectations and her stepdad had opinions, and everyone wanted her to be someone. She said sometimes she felt like she was performing instead of living. She said the Sweet 16 party wasn't even what she wanted. She'd wanted something small, just close friends. But her mother insisted on the big event. I asked her why she didn't tell me that. She said she didn't think I'd listen, that I was always just writing checks and showing up at events, but never really there. That hit me, because she wasn't entirely wrong. I'd been so focused on providing, on making sure she had everything, that I'd forgotten to just be present, to listen, to ask questions. I told her that. I didn't make excuses. I owned it. And then I told her that moving forward, things were going to be different. Not because I was punishing her, but because I was done trying to buy my way into her life. I wanted a real relationship, one where she respected me and I actually knew her. She could have that or not. Her choice. She cried again, differently this time. She said she was sorry, that she'd said that stuff at the party because her mother and stepdad had been coaching her for weeks about being grateful to him, that she'd felt pressured, that she didn't actually mean I wasn't her real dad. I believed her, but I also told her that she was 16, not 6. That at some point, she had to own her choices even when other people influenced them. She nodded. Before she got out of the car, she asked if I was going to pay for school. I told her I hadn't decided yet, that it wasn't about the money. It was about what she valued. She asked what I meant. I said that if education mattered to her, she'd figure it out. Scholarships, public school, part-time job. There were options. But I wasn't going to keep funding a life where I was treated like a checkbook. She sat with that. Then she got out and went inside without looking back. Update 3. The custody hearing happened before the tuition hearing. My daughter met with a court-appointed therapist 3 times. I met with the therapist twice. My ex-wife refused to participate, which the therapist noted in her report. The therapist's recommendation was measured. She acknowledged that my daughter had been influenced by her mother's household, but also that my daughter was old enough to articulate her own feelings. She recommended increased joint custody with more flexibility and mandatory family therapy. She also noted that my ex-wife's refusal to participate suggested an unwillingness to facilitate a healthy co-parenting relationship. The judge read the report. Then she asked my daughter directly what she wanted. My daughter said she wanted to spend more time with me, that she wanted to get to know me better. The judge adjusted custody to a more equal split and ordered family therapy. My ex-wife looked like she'd swallowed glass. The tuition hearing was simpler. My attorney presented the divorce decree. Nothing in it required private school. The judge asked my ex-wife why she couldn't pay tuition herself. My ex-wife said her household income was stretched. The judge asked about her husband's income. My ex-wife got flustered. The judge ruled that I was under no obligation to pay for private school, but encouraged both parents to work together for the benefit of the child. Translation: I won. My daughter ended up applying to 3 private schools with scholarship programs. She got into 2 with partial scholarships. I agreed to cover the difference for one of them, the one she actually wanted to attend, not the one her mother preferred. It was less than half what I'd been paying before. The college fund stayed in my name. I told my daughter it would be available for college, but only if she maintained our relationship and put in effort. Real effort, not performative stuff. 6 months later, things aren't perfect. My daughter still lives primarily with her mother, but she comes over more often. We have dinner every week, just the 2 of us. She talks now. Really talks. She told me about a boy she likes. About a teacher who's hard on her. About feeling anxious about college. I listen. She asked me once why I did what I did. Why I pulled everything. I told her that I loved her enough to let her be angry with me if it meant she learned something important. That respect isn't optional. That relationships aren't transactional. That I wasn't going to be a ghost in her life who just paid bills. She said she got it now. That she was glad I did it. That it sucked at the time, but it woke her up. I don't know if that's entirely true. I think part of her still resents it. But that's okay. Parenting isn't about being liked. It's about raising someone who can stand on their own. The Mercedes is long gone. She takes the bus now. Sometimes I pick her up. She doesn't complain about it anymore. Her mother and I don't speak unless necessary. Her stepdad stays out of it now. I think he realized he didn't actually want the responsibility that comes with being the real dad. As for me, I'm still her father. Not because I pay for things, not because I show up to events, but because I'm willing to do the hard thing, the unpopular thing, the thing that hurts in the short term but matters in the long term. She'll understand that one day. Maybe she already does. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too.